We are back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us. We're talking this morning about social media, apps, children, some of the dangers that are out there and things that parents probably aren't fully aware of. Mamtaj Akter is with us. She's at Vanderbilt as a computer science graduate student. It's good to have her on, along with Pamela Wisniewski. She is the Vanderbilt professor there. They've been involved with a new app that's out there that we'll tell you more about that helps parents maybe monitor. And actually, as you said, it's a nice give and take. It also allows the child or the teen to interact with the parents, and so it's a two-way street, right?
Yes.
I think what I hear both of you saying is when you deal with monitoring these things, there's got to be a level of trust between the two, not like one spying on the other or something, but trying to what do you think? The students that you talk to and putting this app together, you want it to be a two-way street?
So here's the interesting thing, like in my research we found that like teens like this like peer-based thing. So they like that equal footing.
Sure.
But on the other hand, unfortunately we saw that parents didn't quite like this.
The equality of it?
Yes.
Meaning, because the app, if you were just joining us, allows not only the parent to monitor the apps on a teen's phone, but the teen is allowed to monitor the apps on the parent's phone.
Yeah.
Look, I guess, and I don't know what a lot of people. How many apps do you have on your phone?
Probably hundreds.
Some
She
people have
knows
hundreds.
because we have the app installed.
Do you have a bazillion? Because I've got maybe 20. I just am not an app guy, and I know there's a bazillion of them out there, and I don't like going down that rabbit hole. That's my generation.
So far I found like on average people have more than 30 apps. Like a recent study that I did, so more than 30 mobile apps.
I mean, that sounds right, but the teens could have hundreds.
Right.
Yes.
And different people have different strategies to manage the apps versus the permissions of those apps that they have, their privacy level on those phones. So this is actually part of an NSF-funded grant in collaboration with the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, our collaborators there, and the University of Cincinnati. And the whole purpose of the grant is to understand how we can help people co-manage as a community their privacy and security. Because we don't want to assume that it's just youth who don't know how to protect themselves online. A lot of adults, we also have that challenge.
Sure. I mean, and that's, you think about the youth and what they're targeted for, but adults every day are targeted through apps or social media to some way and are scammed out of money.
Yes.
Right? That happens constantly, especially senior citizens sometimes, if they're able to get online, are real susceptible to that.
Right, and so this app is actually designed for that larger community.
That's great.
This particular study was for parents and teens, but you could imagine using this app with your extended family. For instance, grandparents or cousins or aunts and uncles as well, because that way you can bring some more of that expertise, that tech savviness into your community so that you can look over each other. It's kind of like it takes a village.
That's an interesting thing that I found, that like most of the like adolescents and parents, they believe that if they could use these co-ops with like their extended family, for example, grandparents who are the older adults population, so they could be benefited a lot. Like almost all parents and adolescents agreed to that. So,
And, well, the thing is, like, my parents are such of a generation that they don't even know what an app is. And that's great. So I don't have to worry about that. But we're going to have a generation of people like me that get to that point where we're going to be more savvy. As my parents, just didn't live through this. And they don't know and they don't care, and they couldn't navigate it if they wanted to right now. But there's generations of the baby boomers age, they're going to be there. And that's where that app could really come into play, I think. And again, it's called Co-ops, which I like that. It's a cool name. Let's take a call from Thomas. Good morning, Thomas. Hi, Thomas.
Hey, good morning, people. This question is for your guest. Have you ever heard of Truth Social?
Truth Social.
And let me finish.
Okay.
Yeah, let me finish. Go ahead. Have you ever heard of it?
Does that ring a bell?
I haven't heard of that one. Could you tell us a little bit about what you know about it, and then maybe we could see if we know other apps that are like it?
Well, you look into this because I did. On the 4th of December of this year, Trump used his Truth Social account to say election fraud allows the termination of the Constitution. Now, you check it out.
Okay, well, is that a website or is it an app? What is Truth Social without getting too political?
Well, I don't know. I've got a laptop.
Okay, all right. And Thomas calls in, and I don't want to get political because Thomas goes politics, but there's all kinds of stuff. And it sounds like Truth Social may be something that politicians maybe use again.
So
I don't know.
I think maybe what he's getting at is that there's a number of apps out there to either disseminate misinformation or to sway political results. And I think it's really important to bring it back to kind of some of the concepts that we're talking about, is to teach our youth how to navigate the internet, not only from the predators out there, but also from malicious apps and also from information that may or may not be true or misleading. So I think it's really building those digital literacy skills and good digital citizenship.
Okay, and that's not really being taught in schools to the students, really? I mean, there's computer science classes, but that's not there. Is that something, who will do this? Does it have to be the parents then?
So that's a great question. There are programs popping up in some schools teaching digital literacy skills, but unfortunately I think they're inconsistently applied and they're not everywhere and they're not like up to date.
See, I would take one of those classes right now.
Right, exactly.
It's kind of like digital literacy. I take a class when I get my new iPhone sometimes, over at the Apple store. Some just basic stuff. But I mean, I would love, and that needs to be the part of every curriculum. It's not really even getting there yet, huh? It's just
right. Well, and it's not necessarily about learning how to use Microsoft Word or Excel or even programming in Python. It's being able to navigate your interpersonal boundaries and how to deal with strangers online, or how to say no to that request for a naked photo when you're a teen. Being able to navigate some of these things that we kind of take for granted that we need to teach youth about in our everyday real lives, but not really translating that to the online world.
Okay, and so then we know it's not in schools. That app's there, so maybe walk it through. Just how does this start then? How should parents, or how does a teen start with this? How do you approach them? What are you going to do? Okay, you've got the app, so what? You sit down with them and let's download these apps and.
Here's the thing, like when I interviewed the parents and teens, I mean, I saw that like most of the parents were kind of like doubtful about that. I doubt my kids would use this because I could see through his apps. So, I mean, this is one question we are still.
So they're saying, oh, I don't think I need this. I think I would pick up on it if they were doing something like this?
I think it was more just the power hierarchy between parents and teens. There's still tension there, right? Okay. Where parents are used to being in charge, and teens are used to being told what to do. And this app kind of upends that, of putting them more on equal footing to say, well, you might be 13, but you know more about what's going on online than I do, so give me some advice as a parent. That actually made the parents in our study a little bit uncomfortable. But some of them were kind of open to that idea.
Also, the adolescents said, like, well, I mean, why do I worry about my parents? Like, they know what they're doing, right? They're adults. So that's the main problem.
Right, right. Well, I mean, and again, what your app does is it doesn't block things necessarily. It just allows individuals to see. Because, I mean, you can still get blocks on, your computer at home or TV to keep maybe your children from accessing pornographic websites, things like that. And I guess, can you do that on teens' cell phones to block them, where their phone just is not capable of downloading certain images, things like this?
There are parental monitoring apps.
Okay, so that's still out there, but this is a different approach, maybe for older teens then, where it's like we're not going to block you, because we know really, if you want to get to this stuff, one way or the other, you're going to find a way to do it. Maybe not on your phone, maybe on a friend's phone or someplace else. So it's more an approach of, okay, let's be fair and just allow each other to kind of have an open dialogue of what we're looking at.
Yes, it's a like bi-directional oversight, transparency based.
And that really just changes the conversation.
That's got to be the key. It changes the conversation, because teens are still going to want to hide stuff from your parents.
Right, and we want to hide stuff from them.
Yeah, I guess so. So how ultimately then the app would? I'm trying to get a handle on how tangibly, if the teens can block on the app things they don't want you to see. I'm not sure how it works.
To some way, that helps increase their risk awareness. So if they're intentionally taking the decision, hey, this app is one that I don't want my parents to see.
Good point.
It has that moment of self-reflection.
That means they realize this is one that's tricky. I keep it because it's maybe something that there's some things in here that I actually like, but I know if I get an approach for something like this, that I'm aware that could come and I'm ready for it.
And one of the things from the parents and teens who participated in our study is that most of them said, I don't even know if I'd really use that feature too much to hide the apps.
So, parents didn't like their teens that hiding their apps, but on the other side, kids also didn't think that they would use this privacy feature. They thought, so probably the reason behind this is that they're still kids. They are so much used to that their parents always manual check their phones or use some parental control apps. They kind of are used to of that control,
Yep.
They didn't even know how to
or think about blocking it.
Yes.
Because they're used to the parents monitoring it all. And in a way, what your app does is, I guess, it's a convenience too for the parents, as opposed to saying, let me see your phone, son. And going through it.
Yes.
All of a sudden now you have the app and you just look and see, okay, well
you also get a push notification if, my teen just installed this new app. Or, my parent just installed this new app. And so again, it's just that prompting communication, almost like a daily check-in.
Yeah, in my paper, we found that most of the parents actually either do manual check, I just take their teens' phones and do check what are the apps they have or what are the messages they exchange. So either they do that or also they use different kinds of controlling apps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Listen, let's take a break on that note. We can take a few more phone calls. We're going to go more depth into this. I want to talk more about just, first of all, if we don't do something like this, the problems that we see that happen with it. And that's why it's a great idea. We'll be back with more with our guests right after this.